Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry we're running a little bit behind, but I'm so excited to be here today with my amazing friend, Kristi. Uh, she,
Hi.
she is such a rock star in the network marketing industry, and I am so thankful to have her here today. If you guys haven't been on this with me before, this is something that I do every Friday, and I interview entrepreneurs in all different industries in network marketing. I interviewed someone who does a lot of coaching with different people. I've also interviewed a realtor, just all different industries to see kind of some of the obstacles that they've had to overcome in their industry so that you guys can relate to what they're doing, but also so that you can see different outlets of how you can create more passive income in your life and maybe make your life a little bit more free in what you're doing. So, something outside of a 9 to 5 job that people generally think is the only way. So, that's a little bit about what I do on Fridays. And I'm just so excited to have Kristi here. We met through the network marketing industry. She is such a rock star. She works so hard and helps so many people transform their lives in so many different ways. She's a mom of two beautiful children. She has her third one on the way. She's actually, you're doing what, 4.5 weeks?
Yeah.
That's so exciting. So thank you so much. I know you're super busy getting everything ready. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today, Kristi. I really, really appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you for asking me to be on. An
Absolutely.
honor.
So, can you just kind of give us a little bit about your backstory? Like, what attracted you to the network marketing industry?
I was, to be honest, I was not attracted to the network marketing industry at all, which I think a lot of people can relate to. It actually turned me off from trying the products that my company offers at first because I really didn't want anything to do with network marketing. I I had a bad taste in my mouth with it. And I also really liked to go to the parties, but I always got nervous because I would always want to make the speaker feel good, so I would look them in the eye, and so naturally, because I'd have that eye contact, they'd always like zero in on me, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna ask me to join them. And of course they would say, you would be so good at this, and I was like, yeah, no, 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 thank you. So oddly enough, when I was looking for the health solution that my company offered, and my cousin was using the products, and I was curious, so I reached out, and when she said it was, a network marketing company, I was like, ugh, I don't even want to do it anymore. But I did. And so it was really a process of, I fell in love with the products that my company offers. And then, after 6 months, I was like, well, I could tell a few people. So I told my mom, you got to start with your trusty mom. And then I went on and I was like, well, I'll just get my husband in here and then it'll help me. So it really just started with those two people. And then, what really blew my mind was after that initial sign up, like randomly I was earning, like the next month when all of, the products were reordered because it's something we consume, I made this money. You talk about this passive income, and all of a sudden there was this new money that popped up on my payment card, and I reached out to my cousin and I was like, why did I earn money? I didn't do anything. And that was really what initially, and because I had been feeling so good, it was really just a process and like a combining of the two, seeing that I really did have something to offer because it really impacted my life. And then the fact that like I earned this money and I wasn't even sure, like, wait, that like I got this money for sharing something that I really like, and watching it positively benefit their lives too was kind of fun. So yeah.
I love that, Kristi. And I love that you share how turned off you were by network marketing, because I feel like so many people can relate to that. I feel like so many people don't realize what it is. And I also feel like sometimes people can build businesses the wrong way, and that can be a really big turnoff. Or maybe they just don't know what they're doing or realize certain things, and that can kind of turn people off. So it's always a learning process, and you kind of screw up in the beginning, you know, and then you learn how, yeah, you learn from there. But I just love that part of your journey, because I feel like so many people can relate to it. I was like that too. My parents did network marketing for years. They were in several different companies, and I've used our products for 13 years, and the past for 10 years I was like, no, I don't want to share with anybody. So I love that. So now that you are where you are today, what are some key things that you think have helped you achieve such amazing success? Because you have reached the highest rank in our partnered company, which is unbelievable. It's amazing. Building in a remote Alaskan village, like totally kind of secluded, right?
Yeah. We were off the road system in a village of 50 people. So we had to fly in and out even to get groceries. So it was pretty remote. We lived there for 3 years. So the first 2 years of my business, I was in the remote village. And now we just moved to a new little town. So I'm kind of figuring out that as we go. But the things, okay, so the question was, what things did I overcome, or what did you say?
What things kind of helped you what are some key things that helped you achieve such amazing success, especially building the way that you did, because you were, you know, you had a lot of obstacles that you had to overcome.
One of the big things that I have especially noticed lately, or, you know, over the past few years, is when I decided to make this an opportunity, rather than just bringing in a little bit of side income, you know, when I really wanted to make this something to drastically impact my family financially, I think right from the beginning, I knew it wasn't going to be fast. And I was okay with that. Like, I was committed to, you know, if you start any kind of traditional business, you know, you don't go into it expecting to most traditional businesses don't even break even in the first couple of years. So I knew that even if the first few years were slow, which the thing about network marketing is that you earn while you're learning. So like it's not the same as a traditional business. You're not going in the hole. You're moving forward while you're learning. So that's something that has been cool. But I think just knowing from the beginning that I was committed to this in the long run, and that it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to try this out and see if it works. I was seeing that it was working for all kinds of different people. And that was another thing that was really attractive about that, because, you know, I didn't have like high accolades in academics. I never, you know, was very driven in my academics. And so this was something that I saw all these different people doing. And I thought, I know I can do this. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm committed to this process. So I think that's a big thing. You know, I think you see a lot of people kind of dabble in these, in different companies, and they might start something out, but it quickly fades. So like from the beginning, I knew I was going to stick with this, even when it gets uncomfortable. And I've had many moments when I've wanted to quit, but just knowing that like, I wasn't going to give up, you know, I was in it for the long run. So that's a big one.
Yeah, well, and I think that's really helpful, because I think a lot, you know, there's so, especially today, there's so many different opportunities in network marketing, and it's a much more diverse and bigger industry, and you have to really focus in on the one that you're the most passionate about, you know, and really share that and create a brand, with that and help people. So I think that that's a really good one, is to really be committed to creating this. So what kind of obstacles did you have to overcome to get to where you are today?
I used to be really, really driven and not motivated, but controlled by what I felt other people perceived me as. So one of the biggest things that I had to get over was caring what people think. And that doesn't go away ever, but you learn to kind of deflect it and just know that, like, I mean, just the fact of the messages that I get, and, some of the people that's lives have transformed, the choices that have come up in their lives, the health benefits, like all of these things that I see happen as a result of me sharing something with someone. I see it all across the board in different, teams, and not just my own, but particularly the ones that come from the people I've shared with. It's so meaningful because you're like, wow, if I hadn't have stuck through it past that uncomfortable point, they never would have joined me. And then their life would still be here and they've made these big changes. So that's the most rewarding. And that's what keeps you going, because that, like, I know where I was when I started, and I can't imagine how my life would be now if I didn't have this opportunity, didn't have the products that my company offers and all of that. So, just knowing that someone is out there. I didn't think I was looking for this, so it's not like they're sitting there like, when is Kristi going to come to me? I get that, but knowing that you don't know whose life you're going to impact, and as long as I continue to show up, the more people that are looking for it are going to be able to reach out and say, I want that too. So you just have to take yourself out of the equation and try to not take other people's opinions to heart. I mean, it happens, but that's been probably the biggest.
Yeah, no, and that's not easy. And I love that you share that, because it's really not easy, especially if you have someone who's really close to you who has a difference of opinion on what you're doing, and you have to dig down deep and use the passion like that you talked about helping other people and really driving hard and staying committed to changing people's lives. I love that. I love that you shared that. Thank you very much. So, being where you are today, would you do it all over again?
Yes, absolutely.
And are there things that you would do differently?
That's a hard question, because it's a good question. I feel like the things that we do are things we have to overcome. And like, there have been many parts in my business where I've kind of just tuned out. And the cool thing is, because you've worked really hard for a period, you keep getting paid, but then your income doesn't rise necessarily as you want to see it. So, a lot of those inner battles that I've had, I think they're so valuable. And even though, I look back and I'm like, oh, I could be so much further along if I hadn't have done this. But the problem with that, the unique thing in this is any challenge you overcome or go through in this specifically is you get to use that in the future with your team members who get to a point and they're like, yeah, but I'm just having this problem. I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, I was there. And then, you get to show them that A, it's normal. B, you can overcome it. And, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone has those challenges, or they're different, but like, by having some big roadblocks and overcoming them, even if I look back and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Even when I look back to when I initially started, gosh, like, you talk about, making mistakes as you go, just like cringe at like, yeah, I probably turned that person off to this early on. But
Oh, I can totally relate to that.
but that's okay, because if they never came around, then it wasn't for them, and that's okay, because we're not looking to convince people. We're looking to find people who want to have more time freedom, who want to feel better, who all of that. So the challenge is really just help you teach other people.
Yeah, no, I love that you share that. And it's crazy because I do these interviews every week and I ask these same questions. I ask everyone these same questions. And the thing that's really, really cool is even though the questions are the same, the answers are so different and so diverse. And you touch on something here that I think is so important, that even though we have all these obstacles that come up in our lives, throughout this journey, those obstacles create the person that we become along the way. And throughout the whole thing, that's the most important part. And so I think that your answer is so beautiful in that, because you wouldn't be the person that you are today without having to have to overcome those. And like you said, you wouldn't be able to relate to other people when they're going through those obstacles too. And so I love that you shared that. And I think that that's a piece of advice that people need to hear, that it's okay if you're going through a tough time right now, because it's going to get better. And not only that, you're going to be a much stronger person because of it.
Yeah, and then you get to show someone else that they can overcome it too.
Yes, yes, yes. So, how have you created more freedom in your life? More time freedom, financial freedom?
When I started this, I remember I had this notebook. This is when we were still in that village, and we were like, rewind a little bit. My husband used to be in the military. So before my second child was born, he left 3 days before I had him. And I worked full time while he was gone for 10 months. And I had a 2-year-old, and it was chaos and it was so hard. So when he came home, I quit my job and he took this job in the village in Alaska, and we moved out there. And we did it for about a year, which is when I was introduced to this company. And, like I said, I wasn't interested in building a business or anything. But so I had this notebook on my table, and on one was like my checklist of things, because my husband was telling me I really needed to apply for a job. And on the other was like this list. And, it's funny, it didn't really click at the time, but on this other list is like, I was trying to make a list of people that I might share isogenics with, which had like 3 people on it. And it was never like, oh, this is going to replace this. It was just, they were both there, and I could not make myself get through this application because I just couldn't imagine going back to working. I just couldn't imagine giving up my freedom after that chapter of just chaos and missing all the moments and sacrificing all of that, And so then, it evolves. My husband would get so upset with me because I wasn't filling out this application. Every day he'd come home, he'd be like, did you finish it? I'm like, no. Did you finish it? No. Did you finish it? No. And then, all of a sudden I started bringing in, this little bit of extra income, and I was like, I can grow this. And, I went on a run, and I remember just like having that moment of, I can do this, and I can make this work. And I came home and I was like, I said to him, I was like, I can become a millionaire in this company. And I expected him to laugh at me, and he was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, you think I can? And, so that was kind of where I started. I started where I needed a job. We needed more income to be able to do, living in the remote village was actually very expensive and really limited our options. And after that time of working and not having time freedom, I could not give that up again. So when I started bringing in this income on my own terms, on my own time, it really unlocked the vision for me, so to speak. And then, from that place, I was able to create a comparable income that I would be making as a teacher, and, with the potential to continue growing it. Whereas, that doesn't happen when you're teaching. You don't have a huge opportunity to grow it all that much. So it's given me the choice to stay home and we've moved twice since then. And I don't, my husband goes through, and I'm grateful that he does, but like, I just watch him through the job interview process, through the resumes, through all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm never going to do that again. Like, I will never work for someone else again, ever. I won't. So I think that's something cool, because I never would have seen myself as capable of having this kind of opportunity.
I love that. I think that that's absolutely beautiful. And that's why I love doing these, because I feel like people think that living your life has to be a certain way, and that we have to follow all the things that everybody else does. I mean, that's where I was. And when I was so turned off by network marketing, and I think it's beautiful. You get to spend more time with your family, and you're about to have your third child, and you don't even have to think twice about going back to work, because you don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Like,
I cry, like,
yeah.
Like, because when I went back with my son, like, I cried every day. It was so hard.
Yeah, that's huge. That is so huge for so many people. And not only that, but you're able to give that gift to other moms. Like, that's so cool. Sorry about the change of scenery. My computer was dying.
No.
And I was like, oh no, we're not gonna stop this. But yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's beautiful that you're able to give that gift. And I think that these are things that people don't think of when they think of network marketing. And I think that you hit the nail right on the head with what it allows from a freedom perspective. So if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice or wisdom about this when you were first starting, what would you tell yourself?
That's a tough one. I think for me, one of the big things in the beginning that discouraged me was, when I wrote out my initial list of people that I was for sure were going to join me in this, like close friends and some of my family members, that I was like, they're going to love this. They're going to want to do this with me. And they didn't. And I think that like crushed me in the beginning, because I like, we like to do things with people, and I'm very much that kind of way. Like, I like to do things with people I love. And, it made me feel for a long time like I was doing something really wrong. Like, I must not be good at this. And, I wasn't, which that's the truth. But, it's not always who you expect is going to join you. So just openly going into it, knowing that you don't know who's gonna, like, it's important to, build a vision of who you can see yourself doing this with, but being okay with it not being that way, because oftentimes the people we might expect to jump in and do this with us don't, and they never will, and that's okay. So just knowing that you really never know who's gonna jump in and link arms with you. Like, my number one business builder partner, we were just acquaintances in college. And, we were acquaintances. Like, I thought she was cool, but we didn't ever hang out in college. And we just had a lot of mutual classes and friends. And she's transformed my business, and she's had the opportunity to leave her career. And so, I never would have like pegged that in the beginning, that would be how it would pan out. Or, some of the people that still haven't jumped on board with me, even though I know they'd love it, like, just, I don't know, knowing that it's not necessarily you, it's not their thing, and that's okay. So maybe just being open to who's just presenting it openly and knowing that like you never know who's gonna want this.
I think that that's really important. I think you hit on a lot of important things because this isn't for everybody. Like as much freedom it does provide for people, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. Like it's okay that it's not for everybody, and not everybody's going to want to join you. And the people who want to join you and want to work with you, you never know who they're going to be. And that's something that's actually really beautiful about this journey, because you start linking arms and connecting with people that you never thought that you would. Like that literally the only reason that you and I know each other is network marketing. And that's really cool, you know, because we have this amazing friendship that spans all the way across the country, which we wouldn't have if it weren't for this. So I'm really grateful for that. And I think that that was something really important. So I have one very last question for you. Thinking about, you know, going back to the time when you got your box, because I know your story a little bit, and I know that you didn't start for a long time when you first got it. So thinking about how you were feeling in that time, what is one piece of advice that you might could give someone who's potentially where you were at when you first started, who's maybe frustrated or feeling really down or not in a good place in life in general, and, you know, maybe in health, maybe, you know, just not in an overall good place? What's one piece of advice that you could leave them with that could help them get out of that a little bit?
Specific to like using the products or just change?
Just like in general, just like in making a change, you know, more from like an entrepreneurial standpoint, I guess, like if they're not happy with what they're doing in their career, or if they're, you know, just really anything. It doesn't have to fit in any pocket.
I think what I would say is, I mean, for me, you know, when I got my box, you know, I was ready for a change on every level. I didn't know it then. But, you know, if you're trying out products or an opportunity, or, I mean, it really, truly, whatever it is that you're trying to make a change, because really this applies to any area of your life when you're trying to make a change, even if you're just trying to add like exercise or getting somewhere on time or whatever it is, like this can be applied to any area of your life where you're looking for a change or trying. It can be really hard to change your mindsets and habits. So I think it's just really important anytime you make a change to know why you want to make that change and commit to it, and know that it's not going to get better in like 2 weeks. and it's, I mean, obviously if it's a big challenge for you, it's something that it took you a long time to get to that place where it was a challenge, and knowing that it takes you a long time to retrain yourself to do things differently. So, you know, just being patient and knowing, like having grace for yourself along the way, knowing that, you know, you look at someone who doesn't have those same challenges and knowing that it's not that they have something you don't, it's just something that may not come as easily to you. So you have to work harder for it. And like, I think one of the most important lessons that this whole entire experience has taught me is that you're never stuck in your story and where you're at. You're never, you know, I had such a reel running in my mind that this is who I was. I was really struggling before this in many areas. I was just yelling a lot. I was just not myself. And I knew that. And, you know, there was so much of me that was convinced that that's who I was. I was stuck there and that I couldn't overcome it. So I think applying that to anything, you know, knowing that if you desire a change in any area, you can do it. It just takes a lot of work and patience and grace and picking yourself back up again and getting back out there and doing it, whatever that is. Like for me at first, a big thing that I just wanted to stop yelling at my kids so much. And so that was not easy. It took me a really long time to really retrain the way I was dealing with them and And then that spilled, like the whole thing just spilled over into every part of my life. And knowing that you can change, it's just not easy.
I love that. And I think it's really important. And I think it'll apply to any decision that anybody is making, especially to people who feel stuck with where they're at, you know, because taking small steps every day, maybe you want to add more exercise, just go for a walk every day and give yourself the grace to fail sometimes and then pick yourself back up. I love that, Kristi. Thank you so much for being on with me. You shared so many beautiful nuggets of information that so many people are going to be inspired by, and they're going to help so many people. I really appreciate it a lot. And I'm so excited for you and your family.
We're pretty excited too. Thank you for inviting me on here. It really is an honor and a privilege. And I'm so grateful to know you and to get to watch your journey also. Connecting as moms and friends, and like you said, like we wouldn't have a connection other than through this. So it's pretty fun to be across the country and have technology and be able to do this at all. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yes. I love this. These are some of my favorite things to do. I love these. So thank you so much again. You guys, I hope you have an amazing weekend, a beautiful Friday, and I will be back on Tuesday with an awesome transformation story that you will not want to miss. Bye, everyone.
Bye.